Call this special finance meeting to order. The date is October 17th. The time is 2:01. With us today, we have Alderman Tolliver, Alderwoman Bade, Alderman Warman, Alderman Bug, and myself, Alderman Franco. First item on the agenda, there is no minutes, Madam Clerk, is there anybody from the public wishing to speak?
No.
Okay. I'd like to start off by, and we will do this probably a few times through this, is thanking and acknowledging everybody in this process, all the departments that worked for months on end to get this ready to go. We know how important it is. We know we have a substantial budget, especially the Finance Committee, and we will congratulate you guys again, but you do a wonderful job. So the team effort is appreciated by all of us, and this is the start of it. So I think we just jump right in right now, Mr. Minnick, and go forward.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Minnick, Chief Financial Officer and City Treasurer. And I would like to echo Chairman Franco's comments of a moment ago. You know, this process actually kicked off toward the end of April. So we've been at it a substantial number of months. And by the time we approved the budget here in December, as we move into 2025, staff at the city here will have been working on it for approximately 8 months. So it is a long process. I'd also like to thank the members of the Finance Committee. You all are in for a great treat and a bunch of several marathon sessions here over the next 3 weeks or month until we get to the point where we can pass the budget, the proposed budget for 2025 along to the committee of the whole and ultimately the city council with a recommendation of approval. So with that, I'll jump in. Today's agenda is actually a pretty simple agenda. We're going to briefly go over the draft of the proposed 2025 budget at a very macro level, a 50,000 foot level. We'll talk about some of the numbers and some of the assumptions that underlie the numbers, but this is really just to start to get your head around it. This initial presentation is just to start to get your head around it and start thinking about what the items are and what the really important items are, at least from the staff's perspective in the 2025 budget draft. After we get done with that overview of the all funds part of the budget, we will dive a little deeper, not tremendously deep, but just a little bit deeper on the general fund. And then once we get through today's the general fund in today's process, we'll start to dive down a lot deeper. The first department will be finance after we take the all funds, the overview part of the presentation. Finance will be going first, and then what we'll really do for the next several meetings is go into the detail that we don't cover in this initial session. So we'll get down into the nitty-gritty and into the weeds and start to talk at a lot more micro level about proposed staffing changes, programs, and initiatives, things of that nature. Then toward the end of the process today, we'll go over the next steps in the process and kind of where we're headed from that perspective as we move forward. So unless there are any initial questions, I will go ahead and jump on in.
Any questions at this time from the committee?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Just first off, the most important thing to keep in mind as we go through the next series of meetings is the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget is balanced. We do have approximately $694 million in expenditures that we have budgeted. That is an increase of about $72 million or about 11.5% over the proposed 2024 budget that was ultimately enacted. And that represents about 11.5% increase. That's mainly driven by capital projects. We, as a governmental entity, our budget does tend to go in some peaks and valleys as our level of capital projects fluctuates as we go throughout time, and we'll talk about and hit on several of the capital projects that we have proposed in the as we go through the overview today, and certainly as we go through the capital improvements section at a subsequent meeting. We do anticipate that we will have approximately, or that we will generate about $626 million in current revenues in 2025. That's about a $125 million increase, and to a degree, it is offset by some bond proceeds to help us pay for those capital projects that we talked about. But in addition to the revenue that we generate in 2025, we're going to have and utilize about $68 million of budgeted revenues and financing sources that actually happened in the past. Under our fund balance policies and our budgetary policies, we are allowed to utilize prior surpluses, and that has been a pretty common practice as we have budgeted and as the city has budgeted over time. Additionally, just organically and just by the way that projects flow and that expenditures flow, as well as initiatives and things of that nature, there's typically timing differences in expenses. We sometimes will receive revenues before the anticipated project before we need those revenues for that anticipated project. And so that does create some timing differences, and we utilize those timing differences in being able to meet the current expenditure levels as we move through. And a good example of that is debt and debt proceeds. We actually have some debt proceeds that are on hand from prior projects that we will be utilizing to offset some of the current expenditures that we expect to have during 2025. The next most important statement, or I don't know, maybe this is the more important statement, is that no tax rate increases are incorporated into the 2025 budget. We do expect to see strong consumptive tax revenues from our recent economic development efforts. And we do anticipate that our property tax rate is going to decline for the 11th straight year. We'll talk in a lot more detail about that here in a second. Also of note is that we will be raising the dollar amount of the tax levy to capture some of the growth in the EAV that's occurred. But again, we do anticipate that property tax rate will continue its decline for the 11th straight year. As mentioned a second ago, we are also anticipating that we will see a significant base in the equalized assessed valuation, or the tax base of the community. We've seen very strong performance, and we'll go into some detail about how that all interacts on a subsequent slide. But we have seen and we have talked about those economic development efforts that have been ongoing, and just some highlights and what we think will help to drive some of that increase in the value of the tax base as we move forward. We have new developments in the Fox Valley Mall sector, especially the apartments that are going up. That's going to be a significant driver of EAV, both currently and also into the future as subsequent phases are continued to develop. And then you may recall we added a Genesis dealership along Ogden Road, or Ogden Avenue, in the past year, that would also contribute both in two ways. One, property tax revenue through increased equalized assessed valuation, but perhaps more importantly for an automobile dealership would be the sales tax revenue that is generated by the sales of the autos on that particular site. Additionally, we've seen continued development of the data centers along the Eola Road, Belter Road corridor. Several of those items are currently under construction. A couple are completed. We do see continued activity out in that particular area, and that will be a significant contributor in a couple of ways as well. Equalized assessed valuation, or tax base, contributing property tax dollars, and then they do tend to consume large amounts of energy, so they would also contribute to the city's utility tax base in that particular area. In the southeast corridor of the city, we've seen significant residential development in terms of the Del Webb community, the Lincoln Crossing, the Wheatland Crossing subdivisions. Several of those developments are under construction right now and are contributing to the city's tax base. We do expect that those will continue into subsequent phases and contribute even more equalized EAV or tax base as we move forward. And lastly, we will be seeing a little bit of a bump in our EAV, a fairly small one, but I think it's fairly important to note that TIF number 3 will be expiring at the end of December of '24, here in the next month or so, couple months. And then that new property will come back onto the tax rolls for both the city as well as the overlapping tax districts in that jurisdiction. So a moment ago, I mentioned the property tax levy, and we are looking at an increase of approximately $5.3 million to the property tax levy for 2025, and we have incorporated that and proposed that in the new in the 2025 budget. That increase is going for essentially two purposes. The larger portion of the purpose and a larger portion of the increase is related to the increases that we're seeing in our public safety pension costs. We have seen, quite frankly, in this current year, a pretty significant run up in our in the contributions that are required for our public safety pensions. We're proposing an increase in the tax levy as a result of that. The second purpose, and a much smaller purpose, is to capture a little bit of the increase in the property value growth for some infrastructure investment. We'll talk a little bit about that second half in a future slide, but we'd like to focus a little bit on the public safety pension costs at this point in time. The levy increase that I mentioned is partially offset by a $466,000 reduction to the corporate levy. So without that offsetting reduction, we would have seen an increase of about $5.7 million to the proposed property tax levy. In terms of the specifics related to the public safety pension costs, both pension levies are actually the statutorily required minimum amounts. As the committee may recall, state law actually governs how the pensions are administered, what benefit levels are prescribed, and also has a requirement for an annual contribution based on certain actuarial practices and certain actuarial assumptions. There is a statutory minimum that is established based on those calculations, and the city's recommended contribution levels for police pension of about $21 million and for fire at about $15.1 million are indeed based on those statutorily required amounts. One of the contributing factors to the increase is a change in the way that those actuarial liability calculations are done, specifically cost of living adjustments for benefits that are paid to retirees. The way that was not a statutory change, but that was an increase and an enhancement to the programming system that the actuaries use to be able to determine those liabilities. That was a system-wide change that was made for the pension funds and is contributing to that particular, to the increase that we are seeing. The other item that we're seeing and the other factor in the public safety increases are simply increased headcount or increased public safety personnel. Since about 2016 or 17, we have added approximately 70 sworn positions in both the police and the fire. That's a total of 70. We used to have approximately 493 when we entered that period back in, I want to say it was 2016, but it might have been 17. And currently we have approximately 563 sworn public safety personnel who are covered by either the police pension or the fire pension. So we talked about the factors. Those factors have resulted in higher contributions for the 2024 levy of approximately $2.5 million for police and approximately $1.6 million for fire. And we do anticipate that that would generate about a $50 increase to a house with a $250,000 market value for those public safety pension changes. The next graph just shows what's happened with the public safety property tax levy over time. You can see going back to 2011, we actually had approximately $14 to $15 million of contribution. Back in 2011, you've seen how we've been on kind of a steady increase until we hit 2022. There was a weird phenomena that happened in 2022 that I'll talk about here in a second. But those pensions have really gone up, or those contributions have now gone up to a required, they've more than doubled to approximately $36 million on a combined basis for both the police and the fire. And also contributing a little bit to 2022, or excuse me, to the 2024 increase that we're talking about here. The city funds property pension levy, or excuse me, the city funds its pension contributions from two main revenue sources. One is property tax revenue, the other is the personal property replacement tax. Back in 2022, the property tax levies dipped because of a significant increase in personal property replacement tax. But what really happened is the state actually misallocated between personal property replacement tax and income tax. So while we saw that benefit in 2022 in a form of a reduced contribution from the property tax levy for each of our public safety pensions, the state has had to reallocate between income tax and PPRT. That's resulted in us receiving less personal property replacement tax over the last couple of years as a result of that recalculation. That's had the impact of driving up the levy. And we do anticipate, and the latest information that I've heard is that that phenomena will reverse during 2025. The reallocations will go away, and hopefully we'll see a normal level of personal property replacement tax as we move into 2025.
Chris, can I ask you a question real
Sure.
quick? Had that miscalculation not happened, would we still be where we're at today overall? It would have been maybe a steadier trend as opposed to the dip and a higher one? So where we're at today, we would have been there no matter what. It's just a higher trend because it was a dip. Is that how we're looking at it?
Yes.
Nothing really dramatic happened to this point. It's just that the path changed.
Yes, that is a good way to look at it.
All right.
And additionally, we talked about the debt levy a moment ago. We are anticipating and proposing a slight increase to the debt service levy of approximately $1,750,000. That would take that amount to $5.75 million to partially offset the costs of construction of public buildings. Over the last few years, we have entered into contracts to construct the Public Works facility. That facility is nearly done, and we're looking at taking final occupancy on that here in the next several months. Additionally, we will be kicking off, well, we have really kicked off the process, but we'll be breaking ground on at least 2 of the 3 fire stations that we will be building over the next few years. The estimated cost of all 4 of those buildings is approximately $110 million. We will be issuing bonds, and we do have a proposed bond issue that we will be looking at for stations 9 and 13 during 2024, during 2025. And we are proposing a slight increase in the debt levy to be able to service those bonds in the future. It's worthy of note that the debt levy has not changed since it was instituted back in 2005. It has been a consistent $4 million in terms of the property tax levy since 2005. Since we have added the equalized assessed value to the city, it is a good time to consider bumping that debt levy up a little bit to take advantage of the growth that's occurred in the tax base. The rate that we are anticipating that will be generated by the increase will actually be lower than the rate for debt service that was enacted as part of the 2005 levy. We do anticipate that there will be no tax rate increase as a result of the increase to the dollar amount. Again, we expect that the tax rate will decline for the 11th straight year with the revenue coming from increases in the tax base. We do anticipate that there would be a $25 annual impact to a property with a $250,000 market value. The next slide actually goes through and illustrates, it's a very key slide in the overview, and starts to talk about and display a little bit more graphically the phenomena that we've talked about in terms of the levy, the equalized assessed valuation, and then the city's total tax rate. All these charts go back, they start in 2016 and they go through the proposed and estimated 2024 amounts. So back in 2016, we had a property tax levy, total property tax levy of about $70 million. The chart goes a little further and actually breaks it down into its individual components, with the orange being our general city tax levy, the gray being the police pension amount, the yellow being the fire pension amount, the blue being IMRF, which has stayed consistent over time, and then the green being the debt service portion of the levy. You can see as you move out to the right and we get to 2024, we have been able to increase the total amount of the tax levy by about $20 million over that time frame. However, if you look at the the chart on the right, the city's total tax rate has declined from $2.10 per $100 of assessed valuation down to an estimated roughly $1.67 for the 2024 levy. That has been possible because of the increase in the equalized assessed valuation, as you see in the bottom chart on the right. We've added $2 billion to the city's EAV between 2016 and 2024. So that increase in the tax base through the economic development efforts and the investments that we've made as a city in the city have allowed for the $2 billion increase in the EAV, while at the same time reducing the city's total tax rate by 20%. It's allowed us to recapture, to capture a little more revenue, while at the same time driving down the rate. Additional budget highlights for 2025. Key goals of the administration are continuing to be prioritized. We've talked about the C basis, or the C base, SEE. Safety, police and fire, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few more moments, being the S. Also under the C platform, the first E stands for economic development. We do have, and we've been talking about, the business assistance program. It's currently working its way through the city council, or at least one element of it is. There was a $16 million recapture payment that was allocated from a data center where it wants to locate, or is locating actually, out near the intersection of Eola Road and I-88. That $16 million recapture is proposed to be split into a $9 million business revolving fund, an addition of $1 million to historic preservation, and another $1 million to the facade and improvements program that's currently under development right now. Lastly, we did also talk, and we have talked about the proposition for a distribution of $5 million as seed money for a transformation fund that would be administered by a new economic development group. And the last E stands for education and innovation. We have incorporated within the budget draft the Education and Workforce Development Division, as was announced by Mayor Irvin at his State of Education presentation that happened several weeks ago. And additionally, also from that same program, we have included funds to continue the Child Savings Account program moving forward into 2025. Additionally, we are seeing our capital priorities continuing. We talked a lot about the fire station design and construction. That is one of the public safety enhancements that we're incorporating into the budget. We've also got a project for River Edge Park expansion project. That is budgeted to occur as we move into 2025. We're also seeing the final payments and delivery on the Public Works facility. And we also have several capital projects that are continuing for facilities and infrastructure maintenance moving forward. Then the next slide actually is the capital improvements plan summary. Each year we go through and identify 10 years worth of capital projects in each of those individual categories. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the slide going through the individual components, but I think it's important to note that if you look under the 2025 column, the grand total of all of the capital improvements programmed into the 2025 budget total approximately $181 million of the roughly $700 million that we talked about in the initial slide. Additionally, if you look at over the entire 10-year period, we're talking about a total of approximately $900 million of capital improvements that have been identified and programmed out to hopefully occur within those specific years as we go forward in time. And, not all of those are going to be debt financed. The overwhelming majority of them actually are ongoing programs that are done with recurring revenues, such as transportation improvements that come from motor fuel taxes and things of that nature, and other programs that we have just identified that are ongoing maintenance, ongoing capital maintenance for various facilities and infrastructure. In terms of staffing, the 2025 budget in total does propose the addition of approximately 42 full-time equivalents. Many of those, in fact, I would gather substantially all of them, will be covered as we go through the more detailed presentations. So I'm not going to concentrate on a lot of them here, but just note several strategic initiatives. One would be the build-out of the Communications and Marketing Department for the 311 facility or customer service line service expansion. We are proposing, and we have included, the addition of 8 sworn patrol officers, as well as 2 sergeants and a digital forensic investigator in the police department. I'm sure that the police officers will focus on that when they make their presentation. Additionally, in the fire department, we've proposed the addition of an administrative support services chief. And then we've also got various other professional and administrative staffing additions, particularly in terms of IT support and project management as well. Also related to the 2025 budget, we are anticipating that we will spend the last of our America Rescue Plan Act funding during 2025. Right now, we have programmed in The remainder of the ARPA funding, I want to say it's approximately $3 to $4 million for a few purposes such as technological enhancements. We are building out some video conferencing abilities so that in the event of another pandemic, people could meet remotely and still have the video capabilities. We're putting those into several of our conference rooms here at City Hall. Additionally, we're continuing support of the STEAM Academy from the ARPA funding, as well as the ShotSpotter capabilities that the police have, as well as a No Child Left Offline initiative. And additionally, you may recall we talked about phase 1 of the ACA sustainability plan a little bit earlier this fall. We were able to take a portion of the expenditures related to the Promenade Walkway from the ARPA funding. So we will be reducing the amount of bonding by approximately $1.7 million as a result of that.
Can I ask you about the ARPA funding?
Sure.
So it says here that it closed out in 2025. Does that mean, because I thought by the end of 2024, we have to commit it. You don't have to spend it, but you have to commit it by the end of this year, is that correct? Or is you got to commit it by the end of 2025?
Committed, which we are doing through this
Committed by
process.
2024?
Yes.
Okay, but you could spend it in 2025, as long
You
as it's
can
committed.
spend all
Okay,
the way
all
until
right.
the end of 26.
26,
actually.
okay, good, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then this is the last slide in the overview section for the budget overall. It just talks about and identifies the decision packages that were incorporated into the budget as new initiatives or new programs or new staffing throughout 2025, and the ongoing costs related to the decision packages that were chosen for implementation. A decision package represents a new program, initiative, or staffing in excess of $5,000 or an adjustment to the budget, to a base budget in the amount of more than $5,000. And we actually evaluated several decision packages and incorporated many of them into the 2025 column, as you can see, in the amount of about $18.7 million for 2025, and that's the impact of those new programs and initiatives. So another one of the mayor's pillars is innovation, and we continue to try to innovate and be as innovative as possible as we move forward in time. Additionally, we've put a little table out to the right-hand side just to kind of illustrate the extent of the vehicle purchases that were and replacements that we're undertaking within the 2025 budget. We had requested approximately $2.8 million of vehicles and vehicle replacements that were requested. Those are evaluated by the Fleet Committee, and then $2.7 million worth of those vehicle requests were approved. So I'll pause here because that was my last formalized slide related to the budget overall. As I promised, we'll dive briefly into the general fund discussion next, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any to this point.
Questions from the committee? Alderman Bug.
Only one, and probably the most important one, at least to our constituents. So on one slide, you said there was going to be an increase of $50 for 250 household.
Yes.
That was for pensions. Another slide, it was $25 increase
Yes.
for others. What is the total increase for a $250,000 home?
We estimate it'll be $75.
Okay.
So, and that's an annual. That is annual. So approximately $6 a month.
Excellent. Thank you.
Can I piggyback on that for a second? The 200, it's always okay to use a reference of a number. I don't know if $250,000 for a house in Aurora is like the median anymore. So if going forward, when we do this, could we kind of just based on what the median is? I think it's about $300,000 for a house in Aurora now. So
Okay.
if we could going forward, if we can base it on numbers that are really reflective of the median income. That's all I would say. It doesn't matter, because you can project out what you're doing, but I think it'd be more appropriate to say, if the median household is this, let's just base it on that type of thing. Okay, thank you. Alderman Dell, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to ask a question. So, so the $2 billion of our assessed valuation
Yes.
that we've gone up, do you have any idea of how much is new growth versus increase in value of existing property?
Not for this presentation, but I can take a look at that and take a look at it. But I will say that the economic development efforts are very important in those instances, because the economic development and the investment that the city makes in economic development also translates into an appreciating property value around where those investments are made. So it is kind of a multiplier effect that, you know, when a neighborhood is improved, or there's a particular improvement that's done, that there's a certain area around that improvement that also benefits from the improvement as well.
If Alderman Bay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Chris, the lead pipe replacement is also included in the infrastructure projects?
Yes, it is. I believe that Mr. Schroth will be talking about that in a little more detail. But I believe that there is an allocation of dollars that is included in their budget as a matter of course. It seems to me that I've seen that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions on this? Oh, we can go to general fund now. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the general fund. The general fund is balanced as well as the budget overall. We are anticipating actually a slight surplus in the general fund as we've proposed the budget, and as it stands right now. There's approximately $253.8 million of revenue budgeted, as well as or to go along with $253.4 million of expenditure activity. We do anticipate that would indeed generate roughly a $400,000 surplus, or essentially break-even operations within the general fund. That does represent approximately a $20 million increase over the prior year's budget, and that's driven by a number of factors of property development, as well as consumptive taxes and charges for services, et cetera. We are seeing our strong consumptive tax performance continuing within the general fund, and we are anticipating that will continue into 2025. We're planning for the expansion of public safety services. We've talked about several initiatives related to police and fire that are proposed within the budget. One we have not touched on yet. We do propose the addition of 2 certified fire inspectors as part of the staffing level in the fire department, as well as additional police officers and sergeants. We're continuing funding for special events. Just because it's ongoing right now, we'll give another plug to Luminara, and we are anticipating and proposing continuation of funding for that beneficial program moving forward. Additionally, we do have and are proposing increases to the senior and disabilities division seasonal support programs, the snow shoveling and the lawn mowing that assist the senior citizens are programmed to see an increase in funding this year. In terms of revenues, and I think we've talked a little bit about this before, but it's really important to know that there's about 89% of our general fund revenue. So of that $253 million that we talked about on the previous slide, roughly 90%, if you round a little differently, comes from essentially 9 main sources. If you take a look at the graph, property taxes, state sales taxes, and home rule sales taxes, and then you add in the food, beverage, and liquor taxes and utility taxes, that accounts for about 2/3 of the revenue within the general fund. So we begin to see pretty quickly how important the economic development activity is within the city. Businesses, as they grow, generate sales and consumptive taxes. They also provide additional population provides additional customers and per capita taxes for those revenue streams. And then the growth in the EAV that both of those developments provide allows for additional property tax revenue plus rate relief for residents. So it's really, our economic development efforts are very important to the lifeblood of the community, and they're a very important focus of what we do in keeping the city viable from a financial standpoint.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Alderwoman Bay, go ahead.
Chris, the state is going to remove the grocery taxes from next year.
Yes.
So how will it impact us?
We would, well, yes, the state is going to remove the grocery tax. That would have an impact to our sales tax revenues. It would lessen them to a degree. But I don't believe that's anticipated to take place for another year yet, as I recall. But we, at some point, we'll need to have a discussion at a future finance committee about exactly what the impact is and how we might mitigate that.
And will that be added to home rule taxes?
Would the
The gap? We went to lobby day in
Yes.
April, and
we would have several options. There are options that I'm aware of with removal of the grocery tax, that an entity can opt to have its own grocery tax if it likes. That is an option. There could be an initiative to place an addition on the home rule sales tax. So for instance, if we wanted to increase our home rule sales tax percentage, we would have the ability to do so if we would like. We probably wouldn't need to go to a whole percent to, excuse me, I should say that differently. We probably would not need to increase the home rule sales tax by 1 additional percent to replace the lost revenue. The home rule sales tax applies to a larger base of merchandise, so we could probably get away with a smaller increase that would totally offset the amount that we would lose from the grocery tax being eliminated, but I would have to do that analysis.
okay, thank you.
But we'll break that down when that time comes, and we'll have
Yes.
different options that we'll be able to discuss, because I know that's coming, so, but,
Yes.
you know, we'll have to figure out what piece of the pie we want to take it from if we do it at all, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Oh, and I wanted to note that I did add 2 categories this year because of their significance. The development activity has actually been generating quite a bit of building permit revenue. You can see that, I guess, I don't know what color that is, kind of pink or salmon, that's off to the top left, probably at about the 10 o'clock quadrant of the pie graph. That represents about 2% of our revenues. The commercial development that we've had recently has had a pretty significant positive impact on our building permit revenues. And additionally, we get reimbursed by the state and by the federal government for a portion of our fire service and ambulance service billings that we undertake here within the city. And that really has started to be a pretty significant revenue source for us in terms of recovering some of the costs of emergency response. So I wanted to note those on the graph as well for this particular.
And that's relatively new. We weren't doing
Yeah.
that 6, 7 years ago, probably just
Correct.
the last couple, 2, 3 years, right?
Correct, yes. Okay, additionally, the next pie chart, we've gone through every year. It kind of breaks down our general fund expenses by department. And the main takeaway is if you take a look at I guess it's green over in the lower right quadrant, as well as the blue, which is the largest portion of the pie graph, and then the green and then the lighter blue right next to those two. That represents, the green actually represents the fire department, the blue represents the police department, and then the other two represent public works and public facilities respectively. That's about 75% of the total expenditures of the $253 million that we have in expenditures budgeted in the general fund. That's how they break down. That's really actually pretty common for what I've seen and what I've experienced in other places. Typically, you see those 3 or 4 departments consuming the majority of the expenditures within the general fund. So, next steps in terms of the budget process, we do have departmental presentations ongoing beginning today and going through November 4th. We will be coming back to the Finance Committee requesting a recommendation of approval for the 2025 budget on November 14th. We anticipate forwarding that to the Committee of the Whole on December 3rd and having a special public hearing and city council meeting on December 3rd with consideration of the tax levy ordinance on December 10th. That actually is the bulk of my remarks related to the budget itself. We'll jump into the finance department here in a moment, but I'll pause to see if there are any additional questions at this point.
Any additional questions from the committee?
Do we have access to this presentation?
I can get it to you.
Yeah,
sure.
I think that would be nice to see that, so thank you if you could do that, so.
Absolutely.
It's
I'll
an
make-
easier
I'll make
read,
sure we
it's an
distrib-
easier read than the 1,300 pages of the other part, yeah, so thanks. And then also, Chris, do you want to start with your department, or do you want to go law first? I thought we were going to do,
I think if you don't mind, we'll
we
wrap
could
up
do
with
whatever,
finance. and
whichever
then-
you want to do.
And
It
then,
doesn't- okay.
and then go to
Sure.
law, if that's okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So the finance department actually begins on page 533 of the budget. Should be a specific breakout for the finance budget on your Legistar as well. If you wanna follow along, it should be the same pages that are in the budget book, just in an electronic format. We have essentially 6 divisions in finance: finance administration, accounting, budgeting, revenue and collections, that's split up among 2 funds. We also have purchasing, excuse me, and water billing, excuse me, as well, within the finance department. The budget proposed for 2025 is approximately $7.7 million. It is contained within 3 funds. The general fund portion is just a little under $5 million. Our water and sewer portion, mainly for utility billing purposes, is $2.21 million. And then we also have motor vehicle parking enforcement and staffing at $533,000. The amount of the 7.7 million does represent approximately a $480,000 or 6% increase over the 2024 budget. It's mainly related to 3 things. Credit card service fees. We have seen actually quite an increase in the number of people using credit cards to pay their utility bills. Many of those credit cards have a fee that's related. We also incur fees just for the normal processing that goes back and forth. But some of the rewards cards have been, quite frankly, getting a little expensive on a per transaction basis moving forward. But we're seeing an increase in those fees, and that's been reflected in the 2025 budget numbers. We've also got software subscription. We're looking at purchasing an e-procurement system. They're in the evaluation process for that right now. We do anticipate that there will be some charges related to that. And then we do have a couple of staffing changes that we're proposing in a couple of decision packages.
Chris, we have a question. Alderman Warman has a question.
And I think we had this conversation offline before. Is there a timeline or a possibility of the credit card fees becoming a pass-through charge for the customer?
We're
or for the
taking a look
resident?
at that, and we do anticipate that coming
Yeah.
back for discussion at a finance committee meeting. I think that's a good philosophical debate and policy debate, or discussion, I should say, to have as to whether or not we want to pass those fees on to the general rate base, or whether those fees should be contained to those people using credit cards. So we will have that. I would imagine that we'll probably have that coming up in 2025, or in probably the first quarter, 3 to 4 months, I would gather.
Great, thank you.
We did submit 6 decision packages, and the 2025 cost of those decision packages is $292,200. We propose the addition of an accounts payable supervisor, an administrative aide in purchasing. Then we have a $0 cost that's simply a title change, changing an administrative aide to a purchasing specialist. That is a different position than the administrative aide we're talking about adding. Then we also wanted to purchase new credit card terminals that go with the implementation of a new online payment system. I mentioned the e-procurement software a moment ago. And then we also propose the addition of $10,000 to offset any additional costs we may incur in administering the MWBE procurement program. In terms of staffing levels, with the 2 staffing changes that we proposed, we would have approximately 53 full-time equivalent positions, 50 full-timers, as well as 6 part-time employees. These other items are not necessarily increasing in a major way or a significant way. However, they are a large portion and a large important focus of the finance department in what we do, and some of the charges that we do have, larger charges that we do have in our budget. Actuarial and auditing services, bank service fees and credit card processing charges, collection agency fees, and then various software subscriptions and charges on an annual basis. And the last slide I wanted to hit on, just some accomplishments that we have had here in 2024 that will be wrapped up by the end of the year. We did receive the Distinguished Budget Award from the Government Finance Officers Association for the budget we did last year, the 2024 budget. We oversaw and were instrumental in the implementation of an automated timekeeping system. We finalized the issuance of the bonds for the casino development and the relocation. We implemented GASB Statement Number 96 related to software subscriptions. We automated the application process for mobile food vendors and provided a training on how to use it. We held a reverse auction procurement process for water treatment chemicals and achieved some significant savings for the city. And lastly, we implemented a system for customers to download statements via the city website. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions. I also have several members of my staff that are here and available in case there are any more detailed questions on the finance proposal.
I'll go last on this. Does anybody have any questions about various items on this? Alderman Buck.
Yes, I have just a few quick fire questions. Mr. Lyons, is his salary completely out of MOED now? Years back, it was split out of your office and MOED.
His charges, to the extent that there are charges, they are all in MOED.
Excellent. On page 540, that one package there,
Yes.
The credit card terminal. So it talked about, I was trying to understand the 15,000, because we have 15 terminals now, and we're adding 10. So was the cost just for the software? Or are we getting 25 new terminals? It wasn't super clear.
I have it here.
So let me stop you real quick. So if we're gonna have a number of people come up, so every time somebody comes up, just say your name and your position so we know, that's all. We're gonna do this for the next couple of days, so.
Thank you for
Okay,
having me.
sure.
Yes, my name is Lisa Zapata, Manager of Revenue and Collections. The credit card terminals, we are actually not going to be purchasing an extra 10. What we have currently is 15, and that will remain at this moment.
So this is
A
changing.
goal will be to add the 10, but for the 15, that I stated here. There is a goal to put 10 additional at DSC, but we're not doing that at this moment.
Oh, okay, so that's not included in this
Yeah.
15,000. 15,000 is just for the software.
No, the 15,000 is including those 10, but we are not going to install them right away. There is a goal to have them, but at this moment in time, we are not able to. So it may be something that we have left over.
Okay, so the 15,000 is for the software and the future 10.
There is no cost for the software. The software is a zero-cost software. It's the terminals themselves because they're roughly $600 a piece, and we're purchasing those.
Okay,
So did something change between the decision package and now?
Yes, I think so. That's the problem. Yeah.
Okay.
okay. And one last one on page 541, that decision package. Again, this is a software process. The 5,000 going forward, so we got $50,000 outlay, then we got $5,000 going forward. Is that, because I imagine it's warranted, but is that $5,000 upkeep per year? Or what exactly how does that break down?
So Jolene Coulter, Director of Purchasing. These were estimated numbers. We had not gone out and gotten proposals yet at this point in time when we were submitting these decision packages in. We're in the process of doing that now and kind of narrowing that field. Hopefully we'll have numbers before budget gets approved finally, but there will be an annual maintenance cost or an annual cost for subscriptions. The software we're looking at is more subscription-based than it is license-based. So there will be a annual fee.
Okay. Thank you. The only other thing I had was, well, you said you're going to be introducing your people. On our staffing page on 533, it's always good for us to have as many names as possible, just so we can put names with faces. A couple of boxes are just, and one of them is going to be a new person, so we don't have their name yet. But a couple of boxes just didn't have a name, so if we could.
Yeah, well, I can ask the staff to stand as I call their
Sure.
name, if that's fine. Stacy Peterson, I think you all know, our Director of Financial Operations. Oh, Dan Ferguson, over in the corner, our Accounting Supervisor. Linda Reed, she's made many presentations to the council, our Comptroller and Deputy Treasurer. Jolene Coulter, our Director of Purchasing and Procurement, who just spoke. Krista Heinke is our Utility Billing Manager. Lisa Zepeda, who just spoke a moment ago, is the Revenue and Collections Manager. And that will be it, I think. So
Thank you.
that is it.
Anybody else with any questions? I'd like to go to page 556, and we look at performance measures, and the third one down, food and beverage tax returns processed. We're going from 7,850 in 2024 to 7,000 processed, so we're going down. Is there a reason why there's that decrease?
Lisa, would you be able to address that question?
I'm getting into the weeds here a little bit, but I just saw a fairly significant downturn, so I was curious why that might be.
Lisa Zepeda, Revenue and Collections. Offhand, I don't recall what that increase was or the decrease was, but I can surely get that to you.
Yeah, it was like a red flag. It went down fairly
Right.
significantly, and I would have thought it would stay the same, maybe even gone up, but, so yeah, I was curious about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get that to me, us when you can, that'd be great.
Okay.
And then I would like to go to 561.
Yes.
I saw in this, increase in repair and maintenance services of $15,000, an extra $15,000, seems like a big jump. Is there a story behind that?
It looks like it is related to a maintenance agreement that we entered into. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's the decision package for the credit card terminals that
Okay.
we just talked about. That's
Okay.
the detail line.
Okay.
That was the increase for that line item. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm just trying to connect all the dots here. And then, let's see. I want to go to 573. Page
Yes.
573. Let me find it here. So we have a collection, it's in the performance measures, and it's a steady across the board, a 70% collection rate, which apparently is standard. Is that good, 70%? It seems across the board, but for some reason, it seems like 70% isn't quite high enough, but it's standard across the board. So can we get a little insight on that? I probably asked this question last year, I should have, but why is it 70% as opposed to 80, 90%? One would think would be better for us.
Yeah,
obviously.
and I can tell you, there is a, Lisa, would you mind going through the process of what we do to collect the citations?
Let me just give a little disclaimer. This was my first budget.
Sure.
And 70% has been an annual rate that we've been collecting. And I think it's just due to a lot of old debt that just seems to be the rate that the collection company is able to recover. There isn't a very...
The process that we go through, I drop it.
The process has...
To collect.
has remained the same for quite some years. We have Municipal Collections of America, that is our collection agency. And once bills are 90 days past due, we're able to send them those collection files to them. And they obviously do their due diligence to collect. And we do, when something is in collections from the city debt, they are able to send it to the Illinois Comptroller's office, and we can collect via tax returns or anything that somebody would be getting a refund from the state, they can collect from. So a lottery ticket, for instance.
So I guess at the end, it is what it is, but I guess when I see 70% seems low, if that's the standard, but we're doing everything we can to collect. I mean, that's really what I want to know. Are we satisfied with that? Are we always pushing to get more? And this is where we end up, even with all our efforts. I just want to make sure, because if we're leaving money on the table, we want to go after it, but a success rate is a success rate. So I just want to make sure that on our end.
We are in the process of reviewing
Sure.
how we can increase that collection rate.
And
go ahead.
we do go through a fairly extensive process. I mean, the staff undergoes several efforts to collect those citations. And then, as Lisa mentioned, we do utilize a collection agency, and we do submit them to the state as well, just in case there are any offsets that the state, or excuse me, that we can collect from money that might be due to someone who has a citation from the state.
Sure, okay, all right, thank you. That's all I had. Any other questions while we're on finance? Well, thank you, Chris, appreciate the report. And I think we'll be going to law now. We're gonna move law into the second spot, so if the law division would like to come up. Oh, they're in the second spot anyway, okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Rick Feenstra, Corporation Counsel, and I'm pleased to present this year's budget presentation for the Law Department. I want to begin by showing a little bit more detailed of an organizational chart than you have in your books. Chairman O'Connor always wanted to see a little bit more detail in terms of who was doing what within the Law Department, and I think this is a good opportunity. Although, as you can see, those boxes are a little small, so we'll get you a printout that...
That would be a young Alderman O'Connor to read this, because at our age, it's very difficult to see those boxes no matter what, but I get it.
I believe you may be able to pinch and zoom on your screens. No?
No.
No, you don't have that? Oh, okay.
Magnifying glass.
Well, at any rate, this kind of illustrates what we have in the Law Department. As you may recall, a few years ago, we combined the Law Department and the Clerk's Office together. We still represent the smallest department, both in terms of budget and manpower within the city, but you can see that we are a fairly large entity in terms of the different functions that we perform and the number of people who we have doing work. We also utilize more contractors to do a lot of the functions of the law department, as well as our own full-time employees. Currently, we have 4 assistant corporation counsels. We have Deb Lang, our deputy assistant corporation counsel. And we have Patrick Collins, who sits as counsel of the committee. We have assistant corporation counsel Nydia Molina, who's our community prosecutor. And we also have Kathy Watson, our newest addition, as a part-time assistant corporation counsel. We have Laura Schindel, our management assistant, who is here, along with Alicia Alcatraz, our administrative aide, and also administrative aide Paola Hayes, who is in our risk management division. So that is the law department team who is here, in addition to our city clerk, assistant corporation counsel, Jennifer Stallings. As far as our highlights for the past year, we hired our additional attorney, Kathy, who I just mentioned, to fill into a budgeted but
Mr.
unfilled
Vincent, can I
position.
interrupt
Absolutely.
you
Very
for one
quickly.
question?
Most of your people stood up when they were introduced, and then some half waved, and you couldn't see behind you. So we were trying to put the name with the person. Okay.
Okay,
All right, great.
yeah. We did miss those two. Yeah, I did notice that too, yes. Sorry about that.
No. So, as I mentioned, we did bring on a new attorney this year. Kathy Watson joined us earlier this year in late spring. She was filled into a budgeted but unfilled position that was first authorized in fiscal year 2003. She's currently a part-time person, although that is budgeted for a full-time spot. We have the flexibility in the future to potentially make Kathy a full-time employee, and we would consider doing that if the need arose. We also brought in an administrative aide to fill a new position that was first authorized this year. That would be Alicia. She is helping and training under Laura Schindel, who will be retiring in the spring. We also this year fielded a substantial increase in legal tickets requests. We had 482 as of this morning, compared to 324 in all of 2023. That was one of the significant reasons why we decided to make the decision to ask the council to fill that position this year that Kathy now holds. We also onboarded a new TPA claims administrator to succeed Broadspire. CCMSI is now the city's TPA, and Paola came in as our new administrative aide over the summer to assist with our claims management. And right now, we're finalizing the implementation of the legal files case management system. For the first time, we're going to be able to have all of our files and all of the different things that we work on in the law department compiled in one place that'll be searchable for staff. So we will have a repository of the legal information and advice that we've had the chance to render on a day-to-day basis, all in one place. So for posterity, we can go back and look to see who said what, when, and why. This chart is probably a little too small to read as well on your screens, but this is just a basic allocation of how we allocate the responsibilities amongst our attorneys. This is the current configuration as we have it right now. I anticipate probably over the next several months we will move assignments around as we kind of get a little bit better feel for what the workload and the needs from our various departments are going to entail as we go through the next year. As far as what we're proposing in the fiscal year 2025 budget, our budget combined, when you figure in the capital budget, represents only about 0.41% of the entire proposed city budget for 2025. If you look at just the general fund budget, that's about 1.4% of the total general fund budget. And about a third of that number from the law department is the clerk's allocation, what she uses to run her portion of the office. We're proposing a $156,000 increase over last year. About $110,000 of that increase is basically due to the numbers that are driven by the payroll projection, anticipated changes to salaries and benefits that are scheduled to occur at the beginning of the year. The remainder of the changes in the budget essentially due to anticipated change in the cost of contracted professional services. In most cases, our administrative hearing officers, our contracted prosecutors for ordinance violations as well as for DUIs, and then for our outside counsel. Effectively, this will allow us to continue to maintain the same level of services with some flexibility if we need to, fill Kathy's position on a full-time basis. We have that opportunity. We're keeping our existing staffing levels, and we have no decision packages.
Questions or comments from the committee? Well, that was easy. I'm sorry, Alderman Bug.
No, I'll wait. Are we gonna do clerk?
Ms. Stallings will be presenting separately.
Okay.
Okay. This is in conjunction question, I guess, because I'm looking at the staffing. I'm just trying to, again, get names with faces and that. So we said our administrative aid started in '24. But of course, maybe that zero number, maybe that zero number is from beginning of the year. So we have one administrative aide in 2025, but our paralegal goes from 1 to 0.
What you're seeing is a transition when our risk management paralegal left over the summer and we brought in Paola, we readjusted and reassessed the position, and it was made to an administrative aid position rather than maintained at the paralegal position.
Okay.
So that's why we don't have the paralegal and where you're seeing that change in the numbers.
All right, and I'll ask about the staff attorney later.
All right, and then, in closing, I want to specifically call out Deb Lang for her assistance in putting together this budget. Very, very good, strong right hand in the law department. I appreciate everything that she did. And I wanted to take this opportunity to commend Laura Schindel on her preparation for her final budget as our executive assistant, as she intends to retire next spring. So that's 36 years as our management assistant. So thank you very much, Laura, and thank you very much for the opportunity to present.
Thank you very much. Very good presentation. Madam Clerk, you have 3 minutes to speak, and you may begin now.
Won't even take 3, I don't think. Rick does the hard stuff, I get the fun stuff. We do have a presentation once it gets pulled up. Hopefully. This does not count against my time, I hope.
I'm sure you'll get as much time as you need.
Well, thank you. There it is. 7 slides. Okay, Jennifer Stallings, City Clerk. Every year and ongoing on our website, our webpage on the city's website, we have our running numbers. I know it is a little small, but we update this every week. Special note, I think, active liquor licenses, we have 206 currently, which is almost as high as I've seen since I've been the clerk, since 2019, late 2019. Also, FOIA responses fulfilled. This is in conjunction with the police department, 5,200 as of October 2nd. I believe we are on track as a city as a whole for approximately 6,500, which is, it's a lot. So I just want to talk about a couple of specific topics. For our liquor licenses, we have been looking for a better way to allow people to apply, allow them to renew and make payments. Currently, they apply, renew, and make payments in person or email, and they write us checks. So what we have, we've been taking a lot of paper. We hold a lot of paper. We're trying to get away from that. And our solution to that, hopefully, is to use e-approval. And you will see in our budget, we have a line for e-approval, which is something that we are currently actually using. We do have just a sample up on the screen for a sample application, but e-approval will allow the applicants to apply, renew online, and pay for their liquor license applications online as well. Simplify the process during or throughout the city as other departments, divisions have to play their part in the renewal process and application process as well. So we're hoping that if this part of the budget is approved, it will free up some time for staff to do other things. And more importantly, it will make the process a lot easier for the liquor license holders. Also, the archive project that you've been hearing about for so long from the city clerk's office. We have put in a decision package for digitization and for it came about in an interesting way, but somewhat of a platform for people to now access and retrieve documents, copies of documents from home if they'd like to do so. What you're seeing on the screen right now is the incorporation documents from 1857. It's actually in my drawer in my office right now. But as of right now, I'm really the only person who can see this. And you can see this is the first page of that document. It's too frail for anyone to really touch. I shouldn't really even be touching it. Our historian at the GAR does not want me touching it. So what we are hoping to do is have the company Canon digitize all of our documents, going back, way back to this document, digitize them, put them, and actually give them to us somehow. I don't know how that happens, magic, and then we'll have them all digitized, and then we can actually put them, this is the last page of the same document, which I think is so cool. I just wanted to show you. Put them all on this platform. It's actually through Municode, which is the same company that we use to put our code of ordinances online for people to search. Funny thing, we were actually pricing out companies to provide us with a big solution for a whole new system for people to be able to use and access these documents from home and search. And I saw the top price was about $750,000, and so I was a little frightened by that. We had been using this to put the proclamations out there, just kind of as a service to people. We've been asked very infrequently for proclamations, but we have them out there. And Socorro Flores, the deputy city clerk, one day thought, well, maybe we could use this. It does exactly what we need it to. And so this is, I believe the decision package is maybe $9,000.
Yep.
So it seems like a really, really good alternative. And so we're hoping it works. If it, the $9,000, we're already using this service. We need to have the documents digitized anyway. We'll have them. So it's really a win-win. So I'm hoping that everyone agrees, and it works very well for all the people who want to see our documents. And this, wrapping up my presentation, is the staff in my office. Eric Pry is not in my office, but he is in our archive room helping with our historical documents sort through, and we're making sure we keep what we need to keep. Dave Tellner is 40% in our office. And that's what I have.
Questions from the committee? Alderman Buck.
Yeah, just two. Thank you very much. In the staffing, we're losing one FOIA person?
So what we had previously is Sarah Walsh she's been our FOIA specialist. She was our FOIA specialist for many years. She is also a licensed attorney in the state of Illinois. Sarah and Darren, so Darren came on as a FOIA specialist last year. He's housed, he lives over at the PD in the Records Division. Sarah has been elevated to the position of staff attorney.
Okay.
So
Good.
she consults with PD, everyone on FOIA issues primarily, and she's really doing a great job.
Okay, yeah, that full explains it. Okay.
Yep.
My only other question was on the decision package for the liquor licenses. And your opening line,
Oh, no.
the clerk's office wants to replace Track It. Because the people up here know how long it took us to onboard Track It, the number of years, the amount of money. So Track It did not have a Band-Aid to cure this, so we're asking to go to another platform.
For the purposes that we need for the people who use our services, specifically in the city clerk's office, it doesn't work great for us. I think internally, we can use it for different purposes, but externally, I don't know that it serves the purpose maybe that it does, or serves as well as maybe that it does for building and permits.
Okay.
You know, for example, it's just maybe not quite. It maybe wasn't designed for the licensing purpose. That's what we have found.
Okay. Yes, software has a useful life. We just hope Track It has a long, useful life, so.
Yes.
Understand, it can't do everything, so.
Right, and I actually kind of like it now that I've been using it for a while, and it does have a purpose for us. Just not licensing and not so much liquor licensing for use for outside people, for us.
Okay, thank you.
I got a question about liquor licensings and renewal. So right now it's paper,
Yes.
and we want to go to this system which they'll utilize a credit card, assuming. And how many of those are a year, about, between the two, licensing and renewals?
How many renewals do
Yeah, how
we get
many
a year?
renewals a year?
So when we come up to renewal season, if we were to renew right now, we would have 206 licenses renewed.
Okay.
So as far as new licenses, it just depends on the
Right.
year.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because we had just talked previously about, do we pass along credit card fees or a portion or anything to the people who are going to use it? If we're adding that many more onto it, in my mind, I'm like, we have to address that, because that's a lot more money we're utilizing maybe on our behalf to give the customer. So, as we add more to that, it's going forward, we're going to definitely have to address it. So I was trying to get a ballpark. I forgot what it said in there before, but how many more this could be, because I'm going to guess if you do that, just about everybody's going to go that way. It's just be better for everybody. So could be 2,000, a year for that. So I'm just trying to connect the dots a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't recall if it's a percentage or if it's a flat fee
Right.
per use, but, the average yearly fee is about 1,800 or so if you
Right.
figure between the different
Sure.
license
Right.
categories.
Okay.
So that's what they would be paying generally between the 206.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to think ahead when we get to that discussion that we're going to add this many more on, so that it could sway us one way or the other. So, okay. All right. Any other questions?
I have a quick.
Alderwoman Bay?
Thank you, Chairman. Will they still have an option to apply on paper, or we will just have e-approval?
I always like to give anyone the option to use whatever they're comfortable with, and we'll certainly work with them if they need to. I'm always happy to put it into e-approval for them. It's of course easy for us to use, but we also understand that new things are hard, and especially when it comes to technology. If someone doesn't quite understand it or can't get the hang of it, we can enter it in there for them, and we can work with it.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up will be Human Resources Department.
Good afternoon, Alicia Lewis, Chief Human Resources Officer, and I'm here to present the Human Resources Department's budget and highlights for 2025. And we're a department of 18 employees now. We've grown over the last couple of years, and you'll see as we get into this presentation that we've been able to really start rocking and rolling and getting some things done I'm really excited about. The accomplishments we've been able to make over the past year. So we'll first go, I'd like to talk about the highlights for 2024. So one of our biggest accomplishments or excitement for our department is our remodel. If you guys haven't come down to HR since our remodel, you are invited because it's fabulous. I mean, you know, primarily we needed more space because we were growing and we need to be able to do things. But, you know, we actually took the opportunity also to kind of update and upgrade. And, you know, not only has it provided more space for staff, but it's also, I think, it's been an employee morale boost because it's a nice place to work, and it's fresh and it's bright, and so and it was a long time coming. We were actually out of the office for over a year when we were thinking it would be a lot less amount of time, but otherwise we're there, and again, just a lot of great things that are happening. Also, we updated and revamped the City of Aurora Employee Handbook, which was out of date by over 10 years. And so that was, again, something that was a long time coming. We've got new policies in the handbook. That was the first phase. We basically just updated it. Our next phase is really going to be to try to revamp that document and get a new version out within the next year. We have been very integral in the implementation of the new UKG timekeeping and attendance system, and I'm sure everybody knows that we're now automated for our timekeeping and payroll. There used to be those punch-in boxes at the different departments, and so we've gotten rid of that and centralized the process. HR spent a lot of time working with payroll, so it was definitely, as well as with all the other departments, but you know, we were part of that process in getting together the policy for the timekeeping. There was a lot of training that needed to be done. Training and Development Division did a great job in getting that going, and obviously it's an ongoing process. It was a long process, but it has been successful, and we've gotten all our folks on there, and so that was very time-consuming, but it's taken a lot of time to get going, but we're there. Also under UKG is the HRIS, which we don't have a Human Resources Information System that was really robust. And so because we were getting UKG, there is a module under there for HRIS. And so it's a whole nother process, and it's, again, a way to make our process efficient. There's a number of modules within HRIS, and actually there are 6 modules right now that we're working on concurrently at the same time. One is, so we're working on an ongoing onboarding and recruitment module to, again, more digitalize and systemize that process, get rid of the paper, make it easier for folks to apply, get on, and get hired. We're also building the module for performance management. We're also working on the module for records management, because all of these work in combination. And so in some of these modules, we're not going to be able to implement right now because we have to work with some things within Naviline, but at least we're getting these modules together and ready to go step by step. So again, a lot of folks, a lot of hands in this process, and we hope to. We're just getting that going, and we hope for next year to have those modules implemented. Excuse me. We also are streamlining the onboarding process, and again, with HRS, this will hopefully help us do that better, but we've already started that process. One of the accomplishments was getting together an informative video for the new employees. So it's a welcome video, it's fresh, it's something that an employee can see and kind of see all the great things that are coming working with the city of Aurora. We worked with our communications department, they were great. Again, a lot of collaborative things that are going on so that we can shine the way we should be shining. So that was a very successful project. We've initiated recruitment strategies, focused on attracting qualified and diverse individuals. We're participating in more job fairs and career fairs. We're doing more marketing. We're utilizing a lot more social media. We've got a LinkedIn account. So just really trying to utilize all that's out there to get our name out there, get HR, get the city's name out there, and get some qualified candidates in. We also are working with management in trying to standardize work rules. And so staff is working, work unit by work unit, and to date we've been able to get 10 groups of work rules established amongst our departments and divisions. We're also getting, we've also been very successful in getting a lot of our information on Inside 44. That's been, a great resource for our employees, and as a use for a data portal. So we have got our job descriptions, our CBAs, collective bargaining agreements, HR policies and procedures, and more. So all of that is on Inside 44, and we continue to utilize that to get some information out and make information accessible, as well as forms that employees would normally come in and have to get physically. They can now go to Inside 44, get their forms, do the form fillable, submit them. So again, it's been really great. And we've also have transitioned from Broadspire to CCMSI. You heard Rick Veenstra mention that we have a new TPA for risk management and workers' comp. In the short time that's been implemented, it's been wonderful. We're getting, it's much more efficient. We have access to a lot more resources. There's for both the employees as well as staff at my department. There's more access. Claims can be processed faster. I can't I can't say enough how it's been a huge change in my staff. It's just the responsiveness has been fabulous, and it affects the employees because when they're, needing their doctors to get paid and it's not happening, then they're being sent to, the creditors. So this impacts all of that, and we have not had, we've had very few complaints, if any, since we've gotten into the system. And then, of course, we're still knocking it out with benefits and wellness initiatives. We're partnering with the Advocate. We have seminars going on a monthly basis that touch a number of different health issues. The biometric screening, it encourages our employees to get some basic health screening, and then they get a reward for doing that through the contributions for insurance. We continue to do our blood drives. The fitness challenge has been really successful the last couple of years, and so we get a lot of participation in that, and people get the points for the amount of time they put towards fitness, and then they get prizes at the end. It's competitive, it's fun, and so we continue to encourage our employees to participate in that. And then we have our flu shots. So a number of wellness initiatives that we have rolled out and have completed over this year. And then this year, we have we've initiated the Aspiring Leaders Workshop, and that's under our Training and Development Division. We started out with our Leadership Academy, and that was focused more on our current managers and building their skills. And so now, training and development has expanded the courses that we have, and now we're seeking out those that are going to be in those leadership roles one day and how we can develop their skills. And so that's been very successful. They're just adding to their repertoire of training. And we've also implemented finally the Cornerstone University. I know we talked about this in the past where HR was working with EDI for this online training module. So it's now being implemented. And so our employees are starting to enjoy and utilize the training that's there. And then, of course, we're just continuing to roll out the specific trainings. There are some trainings that are mandated by the state, like sexual harassment training, as well as ethics training. We also have, we're starting to have some internal trainings. Unconscious bias is an internal training that the training and development has rolled out, that we have employees that are required to participate. The next slide here is just a kind of a snapshot of the activity in human resources in regards to our hires. You'll see the stats from 2024, which are bolded, and then the stats from 2023. So it's just a snapshot of what's happening in the hiring world. And then the next slide is the training and development, our training courses. And so under training and development, as you can see, you know, we have a number of courses going. The bolded are new courses that have been added, courses or trainings that have been added for this year. And then finally, looking into the future, the 2025 goals and objectives. And as I mentioned before, you know, we hope to finalize and implement those modules that we are working on this year in 2025. We're also looking to streamline our civil service testing process. Right now, we have lists, and we go through civil service, and we keep the list, and people are on the list. And when the list expires, then be able to come back out and test again. And so we're looking to utilize some models that are out there where people get certified, and then they're just on the list. They don't have to come back and test again unless the test is outdated. So it will be more efficient for our department as well as for our potential hires and people in the community that don't have to continue to come back to test every time a list is expired based on their skills. They can get on a list, they can get certified, and keep moving. So we're also working, and this is a project that's been ongoing, we're working with the Civil Service Commission to revise our ordinances, civil service rules, in order for them to be consistent and comply with state statutes. You know, number of documents, they change all the time. We have to try to keep them, you know, constant and make sure that they mirror each other. And so staff has been working on that, which is a huge project, but I'm hoping to see it come to completion by next year. We're also continuing to develop recruitment initiatives. You know, we've talked about some of the great things that we're already doing, but we're looking at targeting high school students with opportunities available in the city government, growing our young folks, getting them exposed to public sector at a younger age so that they know what, you know, they're more versed and more knowledgeable of what the city and what public sector has to offer once they get out of school.
Yes.
We're looking to develop programs focused on occupational safety awareness and accident reduction. That's just building on our workers' comp.
Lisa, can I stop you for a
Yes.
second? Alderwoman Bay had a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hi, I wanted to check, what is the age for high school students who can apply for internships?
For internships? What is it, 16? Are we taking 16?
Depends on the program that's offered, so 18 for college students.
High school for 16.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, we usually don't go any younger than 16 years old. Conduct research and promote voluntary benefits. So again, just building on our benefits program, there are a number of different voluntary benefits. And we've had discussion about even the pet insurance, and there's different opinion about that. But there's a world of voluntary benefits that can grow towards our initiatives and our wellness initiatives. And collaborate with department and divisions to create succession plans, again, training and development. That is one of their goals, and they've started working with our internal departments and managers to identify ways that we can build succession plans for folks to get them to a point where they're ready to take on greater roles as we have retirements that are, especially now with the baby boomers and whatnot, is a great opportunity to develop our staff. And then also, lastly, the plan is and the goal is to partner with outside entities to provide educational opportunities for employees, training and development. I keep talking about them. For instance, we're now offering Spanish classes, and that's partnering with our colleges. And we look to do more of that next year. We have 8 decision packages. You'll see in a couple of the decision packages, the EDI internship program, the college intern number 7, and number 8, the citywide seasonal college internship. It's really, if you look at that, what we're doing is we're combining our internship and seasonal positions to centralize that under human resources. And so some of these decision packages started in a different department or division, and then was transferred to under human resources umbrella, because we're now going to be managing the internship program. The dollars are going to stay in the different departments, but the process and the program, so that we're centralized, we're consistent, is going to be under the human resource umbrella.
I had a question about that. I had a number of questions. I see that different interns get different pay. Some of these interns are really not producing, they're just learning. And I think it was $19.46 an hour at the high end and $16.31 at the other end. Why isn't there same amount across the board? And then, I mean, it doesn't, I don't know why one would be paid more if they're interns, or especially if they're not bringing anything to the table, just learning. It seems high, and it seems inconsistent, so I just kind of wondered about that.
Okay. Because I can talk about, we do have a range or steps, and sometimes we look at that based on experience and
Oh, really, for
background,
interns?
but-
Okay, well, that's I didn't know. So if you want to explain that, because I was not aware of the different,
Right.
that
Yeah,
thing,
so
that type of-
if we're bringing an intern back, similar to seasonal, then we'll bring them back at the next step because they're familiar with
Okay.
city process.
Sure.
So there is that, if it's on our pay scale, if that's what you're referring to, then that would be.
Well, I was not aware that we're bringing back, experienced, so maybe you pay more for experience. I'm just thinking everybody's new every year, so why 16 for one and 19 for another?
Right.
And what, those that are producing are getting more because they're learning, because there's
Yeah.
some in here that just learning how to do stuff, which is great. But why would you get paid more to actually somebody producing? So I guess I'm thinking about
So
the
you-
working world.
Yeah,
how
so
things
you take
go.
an engineering intern that
Right,
came in
yeah.
as a freshman. So that person's not gonna be, if they've come back 2 or 3 years, then they're moving up. Now they've got,
So there's a logical reason why one would make more. I mean, that's
There is.
kind of what I'm getting at, as opposed to being willing to throw a dartboard, and we got, well, this guy gets this much, but, so
There
that
is a
makes sense. Right,
logical
that makes sense,
reason.
because because you've already been trained a little bit, you're hitting the ground running, and so that makes sense to me. I just didn't know that was part of the formula.
yes.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything on that particular topic before we move on? Okay, I just wanted to,
Welcome.
okay. Oh, is that it for that?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, no, I just stopped you there. I didn't know if you had more to go on, but since we're on that topic, I had a couple questions which have been answered, so thank you for that.
So, the
I guess Alderwoman Bate has another question. Go ahead.
Maybe I wanted to know what kind of duties or what does the GAR college intern have to do?
GAR?
GAR,
It's our museum,
yeah.
what is it, GAR,
Yeah.
intern? You want to talk to us specifically? They work with Eric.
Elizabeth Coronado Abrego, Director of Human Resources. So the GAR intern focuses on the archival as well as the maintenance of the artifacts in the museum. So they learn with Eric, and they're usually a historian major.
Okay, and same for equity?
Equity is a new internship. So those, the 4 interns that are going to be under equity are actually part of the internship program. So they're designed to place individuals in different departments and kind of broaden that scope. So we could potentially place interns in places where we've not had traditional interns. So mayor's office, alderman's office. So looking for individuals who are interested in those types of career fields.
Okay, thank you, that's it.
We can continue. We can go on.
Continue.
Yep.
So I'll just go over briefly the decision packages that we do have. First one, funding for mandated mental health check. There is a Illinois state law that came out under the Safety Act where we are required to, municipalities are required to give mental health checks for our police officers. And so that decision package would cover the cost of that. The PD actually has identified a facility to do that, and so the cost is based on that. And again, this was a decision package that originated in the police department, but because it covers mental health and it's a health issue, it was moved over under human resources. The number 3, recruitment brochure and contract books. All of our contracts are expiring, so as of right now, we'll probably within the next month be starting negotiations with 5 unions. So in theory, we would have contracts in the next year or so. So we're gearing up for that, as well as we are updating our recruitment brochures, and because we have a lot more recruitment information for marketing. This decision package is to cover the cost of that marketing. Number 4, service and retirement acknowledgement. So many years ago, we used to recognize our employees for their service. And we have not done that for quite a long time, and we think that as we're looking at ways to engage and keep people within our organization, there's so many different distractions that this is a way to let our employees know, our staff, our workforce know that they're appreciated. And so we're looking at milestone, giving some type of a gift at a milestone employment time, as well as our retirees trying to do something more consistent with a retirement gift, as well as maybe just other recognitions within our department.
So let me ask you a question about that, because I was going to bring that up. So this is new again. We used to do it years ago, and there was a gap.
Yeah.
So we probably have an idea of how many people retire on average per year. So I guess, how do we come up with it? We don't know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to figure out something nice to do for them. How is it 25,000 sweet spot, low, high? I mean, how do since we're redoing it or doing it new fairly, how do we know about that?
How did we come up? I think we don't really know, because we don't know how many retirements we're going to have, how many people are going to, how many people we have that are hitting milestones. We just kind of had to look back in the past, but I think, it's somewhat of a
We had an
process.
average of about 100 either retirements and/or promotions or movements within the city, as well as milestones, but that's just a guesstimate at this point. And we can come back to council and ask for additional monies if needed, but this is our first year, so we're
So it's like,
starting
it's
low.
kind of like a new pilot program again, okay? And we're just trying to figure it out, and we'll work through it as we go along. I
Yeah,
mean, it's a
it
good
was cut-
idea, I just didn't know, if we had 4 or 5 retirements a year, and I know we would not have that low, wow, it's a lot per retirement, that
Right.
type of thing.
Yeah,
so,
it was cut back in 2008, so we guesstimated a little bit, in addition to what we budgeted then. So right now, it's an unknown.
Mr. Alexandra?
Alex Alexandru, Chief Management Officer. The reference to 2008 just gave me a really bad flashback and headache. But at one point, we were at approximately $50,000 a year. This was a very robust program run by a third party that the city had selected competitively. So in my years down there, along with Elisa and towards the, when LaDonna was there as well, but based on the years of service, your selections from a catalog were more robust. I can remember a kayak being delivered to our office. I can remember bicycles and
Right.
all kinds of things, but they were in a book, and a lot of companies did that and still do it, but obviously since '08, things have been cut down. But we thought the staff did a great job convincing the mayor and myself that this would be good for a starter, to bring it back in a measured approach, but they're still looking at options.
Right.
So if this is approved, we'll come back with the options. But it was a fun, appropriate way to recognize people for years of service.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Alice. Number 5, furniture for additional HR office space. So for the most part, we are built out. However, we do have one more area in HR that has not been built out, and it's right next to what's going to be the meeting room on the first floor. And so Mr. Burchell, along with all of his other projects, has said that we'll be, and we may be able to get a lot done this year. So this is a decision package to furnish that space into next year. Number 6, benefits analysis. And so we've normally in the past, when we have our salary survey, or at least we did, we had our benefits analyzed also to see how it compared in the market. 2015 was the last time we actually, and it was Hay, or Korn Ferry now, that did the analysis for our salaries as well as benefits. This last time when we did our benefits analysis, we did not have them do the benefits. It's really, honestly, an oversight. It should have been the comprehensive package, but it wasn't. And so we want to get that caught up and take a look at our benefits and make sure they're competitive, and get recommendations if need be, and see if we need to make any adjustments there. And so that's what this decision package is for.
Alderman Buck has a
Yeah,
question?
question on that. So when we do these analysis, I know we've used Korn Ferry / Hay in the past. Have we looked at other vendors? Do we know other vendors in the market?
We can look at, we've used Korn Ferry in the past, and the monies are based on the quote that they gave us, but we certainly are open to looking at other vendors also.
Do you remember what year we started with Korn Ferry? 16?
Well, that first assessment, when they did the whole thing, was 2015.
15? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome. And then, and I already spoke on the other two, generally speaking, the other two decision packages. So that wraps up all of our decision packages.
I have a question,
Any questions?
and I think I know the answer to this. So, on page 270, it's the decision, it's the city clerk's 2025 paid internship positions, and it's due to the overwhelming job of digitalizing all the archives. And it's a one-year thing, so I'm assuming that we figured that we're gonna be able to do this in 1 year. That's a guess. Body language tells me a lot. Thank you for that. So, I mean, that's what we're thinking, right? We do 1 year, and because we figure we can get this done with a lot of help. And once we get it, it basically catch up to the archives, and anything we do have to add, it'll be easy to do because there won't be as many. Is that the thought process?
But we do have other historical documents over there that need to be sorted and classified, and we have to do something with them as well. So we need kind of the extra bodies down there who know what to look for. That's why we're asking for college students to do that type of work as well. So I don't know how, estimating a year, but I can't guarantee that it will be done.
No, but I mean, that's, as of right now, that's our best guess.
As of right now, that is my best.
That's fine. That's what I was thinking, that we didn't go on for that, which is fine. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to make sure we get that straight. Okay. Alderwoman Bay?
On page 27, 271, it says 3 college interns for IT, but on the front cover it says 4.
Page, I'm sorry, 271.
271 and 263. So, sorry, 271 and 262.
So this is a, go ahead, Mike Peaky's thing. Yeah, talk about it.
Stacy Peterson, Director of Financial Operations. They actually had in their budget previously 1 intern, so that's why there's 4. This
3
is
more. Okay.
3
Makes sense.
adding to
Got it.
the one they already had.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Alicia? Hearing none, thank you so much for your presentation today. It was wonderful. Thank you. I'm
Thank
sorry. Okay, you're good. All right, motion, we have a motion to adjourn by Alderman Bug. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 3:57, and just to say, tomorrow we will resume committee tomorrow at 1 o'clock with a number of other departments. So